Can y'all hear me? Can you hear me? Can you see me? Let me know before I just start rambling away. But what's good? Shout out to everybody in the building, man. We have some news, and some more news. All kinds of news. Coaches being fired. The coaching search is about to get crazy. Robert Penn in the building, my brother. Somebody's still in here. Damn, I want to know if somebody can hear me. Can you hear me? We good to go? Good to go? All systems check, check. Microphone check, 1 2 1 2. All right, so sweet, sweet. So, latest news. John Harbaugh out after 18 years as coach for the Baltimore Ravens has been fired. Wouldn't it be funny to have an AFC West brother rival reunion twice a year? Jim and John Harbaugh? I don't know. Could be something. Could be something. What's good? What's good, Greg Brewer? Appreciate you. So, Harbaugh is out. It looks like Lamar Jackson is, you know, higher on the totem pole than an 18-year veteran coach for for your team. So, is Lamar Jackson still on his way out, or will he be staying with the Baltimore Ravens and a new head coach? Does Todd Monken get promoted from OC to the head coach? There was a lot of interviews last year. The Raiders were one to interview Todd Monken as a head coaching job for the Las Vegas Raiders. He didn't get the job. Will he get the job in Baltimore? I don't know. Maybe you know. Lawrence, my guy, what's good? What's good? Appreciate everybody in the building. Also, there are some other reports about Mr. Max, and we'll break it all down here in a little bit. But Ryan McFadden and Kalen Kohler has some interesting thoughts on our own Max Crosby. We will get into that very, very shortly. I like your approach on QBs. Why does everyone already want Mendoza? You know, um, to be honest and factual, like we always are on here, I mean, our fan base is very, very, very much, a lot of Cuban, Hispanic culture. So, I mean, we had Flores, won us a Super Bowl. It's just Raider Nation culture. He's the hot new thing. He's a guy that's killing it right now. We will find out. We will find out very, very soon against Dante Moore, who everybody is projecting, if he comes out, could be the Raiders' new quarterback. Some have him over Mendoza, some have him behind Mendoza. I think they both. Moore could use more time in school, but we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out. What is it? Thursday or Friday? Damn, I don't even know the time of the game, but we're gonna find out, right? Number one versus number two. Can Oregon defeat Indiana, who beat them earlier in the year? Mendoza only had one touchdown in that game, played pretty solid. So I don't know, man. I don't know why everybody's on the Mendoza train. He's a damn good quarterback. Bruce Arians, if you missed that, Bruce Arians compared him to Drake May. Now, mind blowing, because I've watched a lot of film on Drake May when he was coming out, and I watched a lot of film on Mendoza. I don't, I'm gonna have to go back and compare them side by side. I don't see it. But if Mendoza is getting comps to Drake May, it might change my mind on that quarterback. But that's the only one I've seen. And Bruce Arians, I mean, is Bruce Arians. We don't know. I saw that Trinidad might be coming out. If he can't get an extra year, right? He doesn't have an extra year of eligibility. So he filed for an extra year, and it's all up to, college football. Do they want to give him that time? But he committed. He said he would. He's already committed back to Ole Miss to stay another year if he gets a year of eligibility. So if he gets the year, he's gonna stay. If not, he'll enter the draft. And some people have him in the third or fourth round. I think his stock goes way up. Way more than that. Come on, Anthony Richardson got drafted third overall in the NFL draft. I'm not saying this dude is worth third overall in the NFL draft, but he's going to be in a conversation somewhere. Shout out to everybody in the building. Come on, man. You ask the same questions every day, bro. Sniped. Done. All right, what we got? What we got? Let's get to some of these questions before they get way too deep, way too deep. Oh, I'm going to sit down. Smooth. You see how the camera just followed me like that? Woohoo! That was nice. No, I'm just kidding. Um, but shout out to everybody in the building. What we got? What we got? What we got? So yeah, man, the quarterbacks. Here's my thing with the quarterback. I like Mendoza. I think he's a damn good quarterback. He's got a great mind. You know that he's got that dog in him. Everybody needs a quarterback with a great mind. I talk about it on here all the time, right? Quarterbacks, usually your athletic traits help you, your arm helps you, but the greatest thing you could have as a quarterback is mind. And Fernando Mendoza has that, man. He's a film rat. He loves ball. I just don't think the Raiders is the right spot for him. Maybe, to sit. Oh my God! Of course, the dogs will start barking. To maybe sit for a little while, a year. And Tom Brady says, constantly, he believes a quarterback should sit for a year. And if Tom Brady believes a quarterback should sit for a year, if you're going to draft Mendoza and sit for a year, it doesn't make sense, right? I heard Shannon Sharp say something that was very, very interesting. He said, if you're going to buy a $10 million house, do you want to move in a year or do you want to move in right away? And that's how it is with a first round quarterback. Are you going to let him really sit for a year? Or are you going to put him in and throw him to the wolves right away? And if they do that, I think it'll be fine. But I, we'll see. Like I said, we'll see. We still got a whole bunch of football left. I haven't been super, super impressive, but Raiders are going to hype up, of course. Of course they're going to hype up a Latino quarterback. And well deserved, well deserved. But is he a product of the system? You have to ask that question, right? Is he a product of the system? He runs a lot of RPO, a lot of read option where he's holding the ball to a scary running back core with a great offensive line. They have a coach that's being talked about, crazy, bro, crazy. Already getting NFL talks. There's people saying the Raiders should, pick up the phone and call Signetti and say, hey, I know you just signed a huge, crazy contract over there, but would you ever think about coaching in the NFL? And, that makes your shirt is Diddy on peak. It is, bro. It is. The coddling. Um, there's a lot of people that want Pavea too until his recent antics where he just kind of went off and started bashing people, bashing you know, yeah, you got to stay out of the media. You got to stay out of the media. And that's a good thing about Mendoza, right? He's one of those dudes that's not going to be in the limelight. He's not going to be flashy. And maybe in that sense, he is kind of like a Drake May, right? Because Drake May, you don't see that dude ever rocking suits or, wearing a bunch of chains. He comes in and sweats, to every single game, wearing pants and a t-shirt, right? Not very flashy. And Mendoza kind of, is the same way, right? He's very energetic on the mic, but very, very passionate. And, the Raiders need passion. We need a passionate quarterback. But I don't know. I think we got too many holes. And I just don't, if you look at the statistics, man, and you can't help but pass them up. Raiders have a Mexican fan base, not Cuban. They have Cubans too, bro. Come on, I know a bunch over here. When I was in Miami, come on, there was all kinds of Raider people in Miami. You should mod Jason Ruiz Rebel. He's one of Candy's mods too. Um, Drake may go Pats. All right, what else we got? May is better than Mendoza. I believe so. I believe so. I believe he's way more flashy. If you look at his numbers in college, if you look at the throws, if you look at the throws on the run, the way he's able to get his hips around when he's rolling out of the pocket, the the quick release, right? He's never had too many games in the NFL over 300 yards. I think the last two or three games he started throwing more, but he just win games. And Mendoza, if you prefer compare him to Drake May in that sense, I think there are a lot of similarities, right? Because they're both methodical. They're not gonna throw a bunch of interceptions. They're not gonna force stuff, and they're gonna take what's given to them. You could if you got a system quarterback that can run a system, it usually works in the NFL. I mean, look at every team in the NFL. Every team in the NFL that's doing good has a system quarterback, right? Caleb Williams, Drake May. Um, they even got Josh Allen to stop running all the time and throw on time and throw into windows. And shout out to Brian DeBall for changing it up. Can you give a shout out and congratulations to my sister and her newborn son? Whoa, whoa, whoa! Time out, bro. Wait, what? Come on, man. That's not funny. That's not funny at all. Oh man, some people, I swear, bro. Well, I can't believe I gave you the best 4 years of my life, and this is how you repay me. Whatever. Y'all are wild up in here today. Today, today. Um, if he comes out, trade back and get more picks. If he comes out, I mean, you would definitely have to think of bringing in a young man that with his attributes. I know the 6'1", 200, 15, 20 pounds. A lot of people don't like. There's a lot of those quarterbacks in the NFL that have got it done for many, many years. Brett Favre, Navy vet in the building. Who cares what Tom Brady thinks? He's not a Raider. We know that. Unless they're winning, he ain't even rocking Raider gear. Nah, he was on the sidelines with Raider shit on. Raiders will win next year. What, more than 3 games? I hope. I hope so, man. we're praying. That's what we're here for, right? What do you think about Harbaugh possibly coaching the Raiders? I think it would be a crazy, it would be a movie. It would be all over ESPN and NFL. Netflix would be trying to make a movie of it. Two brothers in the same division, one trying to rebuild a team that the other one used to coach for. Was he a QB coach? So I mean, yeah, it's a great movie. It's a great movie. Do I want John Harbaugh? If anybody could turn a franchise around, I believe it'd be a Harbaugh brother. And you know, it might be crazy, but I guarantee you, he's gonna get a look. And speaking of looks, welcome to the next segment, right? Coaching searches. Who is on the list? Well, not many right now, but the Raiders have reached out to um, to Vance Joseph, the defensive coordinator for the Denver Broncos, and asked to interview him. And they have also reached out to the Seattle Seahawks and asked to interview Clint Kubiak, from what I hear, and Cliff Kingsbury also might be on that list. So, don't know if it's 100% true or not, but he has parted ways. If you didn't hear, if you don't know, now you know. Um, Cliff Kingsbury has parted ways with the Washington Commanders. He talked to not to Dan Campbell. Yeah, no, that's the Giants. Whatever. He talked to the head coach, and they decided to mutually part ways. Probably because the Giants, the Titans, and somebody else, I believe the Cleveland Browns, basically all the people with young coaches or young quarterbacks are trying to interview Cliff Kingsbury. So he already has 2 or 3 booked, I do believe, and they have moved on and parted ways with the Washington Commanders. So just another name to add to the list. with Harbaugh, after 18 years being released today, another name to add to the list. Russell might need to link back up with Pete Carroll. Where's Pete Carroll gonna be? I don't hear his name out there anywhere. I think after the season Pete Carroll had with the favoritism, not being able to fire his son, all the stuff we talked about at the beginning of the year on this channel, all came to fruition. So next year I will not talk about anything bad for the Las Vegas Raiders because I feel like I'm starting to jinx them. But yeah, man, I don't know where Pete Carroll's going to be if he has a job after that. So you think Las Vegas will fall for the trap of drafting a quarterback number one? I believe they will. I believe they will. Unless Tom Brady, Tom Brady has his say, and Spytek have their say. I don't believe either one of them believe in drafting a quarterback number one overall. And it just sucks for the Raiders that, of course, you get the first overall pick in a draft that there's no number one talent. There's nobody that anybody's willing to trade up for. Possibly, very, 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 very like 5% possibility that maybe the Cardinals, try to move up and offer something because they're at three. They need a quarterback. Maybe they want Mendoza. But I don't see the Jets doing it. If you're the Jets and you're sitting at number two, why would you move up to number one for Mendoza when next year you have a whole boatload of quarterbacks to choose from? I mean, there could be anywhere, like I said, from five to 10 to 15 quarterbacks in next year's draft. Everybody's saying, um, including the McShay report. Shout out to McShay. That next year's draft could be the greatest draft of all time, and it's already shaping up to be that way. So why would you pick number one if you can trade that pick and get picks in the first round next year to a team that's probably going to be bad, like the Cardinals or the Jets? It would make sense to trade back. But will they fall in the trap? I don't know. I think there's smart people in the building. I think this is, I think the Mendoza thing and everybody singing the Mendoza song, Fernando song, right? I think that's mostly Raider Nation overhyping shit. They did it with JD5, Jaden Daniels. Everybody thought the ties with Antonio Pierce, that Jaden Daniels was going to be the pick for the Raiders. Tom Telesco had to do whatever it takes to get him. They weren't moving off that quarterback, right? They weren't moving off. So the next year, it was Shador Sanders. Everybody in the Raider Nation believed and swore on every channel he was the pick. He was going to be the pick. Well, the first round, no. Second round, no. Third round, no. Fourth round, no. No Shador, right? So I hope Raider Nation just doesn't, there's already people who have Mendoza jerseys, man. I seen a dude yelling at Geno Smith as he's walking away, telling him, "Oh, QB1," holding up a jersey, a Mendoza jersey. It's crazy in Raider Nation, bro. These fans are wild as hell, wild as hell. What if Cleveland gave you Shador and the sixth pick for number one overall? I don't know, man. I don't know. Me? No. You see Shador's QBR? You want to blame it on Stefanski? I mean, for holding him down, he didn't like Shador, right? It was all Stefanski's fault. Shador's play on the field showed this year with one of the best defenses in all of football. You had plenty of opportunities to to show that you were that guy. And I think he ended the year, if I'm not mistaken, with like the lowest QBR in the history of the NFL with like 18 point something. I don't know. Not facts, just something I've seen. Um, so Shador for the first overall and their sixth. Nah, bro, nah. Hey everyone, happy Tuesday. Daniel, appreciate you. Was good. Kevin Stefanski. Oh, I mean, I don't know. I like Stefanski, but Marriott just Marinovich is not coming back, bro. He is not coming back. Derek Carr will be back before Marinovich. Stop that. Stop that. Um, Gruden will be dope, but honestly, long term, I'm thinking Mike Shula. Then whoever is cool. Mike Shula might be the guy, but I don't know where the Raiders go in this, man. I don't know. Is it going to be a Tom Brady thing? Um, a name to watch out for. A name to watch out for. We'll get to in a minute. We'll get to in a minute. Oh my God. Maybe you can get Harbaugh's Ravens fired, right? Gruden would be dope, but honestly, I said that. Titans went through it last year, picking Cam Ward, and now they're picking number 4. Yeah, I mean, a number 1 overall pick. The statistics show from 2000 to 2022. This is not counting the last 3 drafts. The last 25 years, not counting the 3 drafts, and you can even throw those in there too. First round quarterbacks. Only 7 of them have made the playoffs. Out of 25, bro. Out of 25, only 7 has made the playoffs. Only 2 have made it to a Super Bowl. Neither one has won. First round picks just don't pan out. They're taken too early to a team that's not ready. And Jeff Saturday said it the best. Go watch them on NFL. What was it, on NFL Live or whatever the hell he was on? He said the same thing I've been saying. That the Raiders aren't in a position, not having a head coach, bringing in a first year head coach with a revamped offensive line that you have to revamp, a defensive line you have to revamp. You need linebackers. You need a number 1 receiver. You need to put all these things into place so your first overall quarterback can succeed. And if you don't set them up for success, then obviously you're setting them up for failure. And that just leads to quarterbacks getting in their heads, throwing bad passes, not being 100% in the playbook, not even reading the playbook or studying the playbook. You gotta pick these guys and put them in positions. And I believe the Raiders, more than the Jets and the Cardinals, right, have a lot of weapons in place, but they need a couple more. And if you could trade back, possibly, which I don't think that's the case anymore. I just don't believe anybody's willing to trade up for Mendoza at the moment because he's the only quarterback in the draft. And they're like, man, let the Raiders take him. Remember that corny song? Yeah, I remember that corny song from the 80s. Fernando, it's all over the internet. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But I love Raider Nation. Y'all are great. Great. The Raiders are looking for a face of the franchise to sell tickets and jerseys. All they've had is Max. I mean, they have Brock, and Ashton Genty's going to do the same thing. I think he hyped up Raider Nation enough to want to see more next year under, a decent run offensive line. And man, speaking of run offensive line, y'all going to have to pull up tomorrow at a later date. It'll probably be tomorrow later in the night, but y'all going to have to pull up tomorrow to tomorrow's show because there's some offensive line people in this draft that I think the Raiders might be looking at, and I believe will help Ashton Genty success for the future for many, many, many moons to come. So make sure y'all pull up. And if you're here, like, subscribe, tap the screen, hit that like button, show some love to the channel. The Raiders are looking to save face, and Max is all they got. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know. They got JPJ. A lot of people love JPJ. Is he going to be a Raider next year? Is he going to be a center? Are they going to go get a center? Where does that put him at the right guard position? All that will be talked about more tomorrow. They have Brock. If you get a right quarterback, Brock's the guy. Genty's going to be that guy, right? They have a lot of players. And speaking of Max Crosby, let's just talk about Max now. Let's get into Max right now. So, in the latest report per ESPN, right? Per ESPN, Kalen Collar and Ryan McFadden say a personal executive of another team said he thinks Raiders star Max Crosby is done in Vegas. The exec added that Crosby um, is a pretty principled dude. Crosby, who signed a massive 3-year, 106.5 million dollar extension last offseason, was shut down in the final two games due to a knee injury, and reports were leaked that he might have to have surgery. I've said this before the reports were leaked, or we talked about it, right? Max Crosby, does he want to be here next year? I've said for the last 2 months, I've heard that if the Raiders fire Pete Carroll, Max is not here for a rebuild. He didn't want to be here last year. He wants to be a Raider for life, but he doesn't want to keep rebuilding. He wants stability. And they showed that they can't produce stability. They gave him Pete Carroll, who sold him on a plan, sold the nation on a plan. Everybody sipped the Kool-Aid. The Raiders are going to come out, win 10 games. Gino's going to throw for 4,000 yards and 85 touchdowns and no interceptions. And it's going to be the greatest Raider season of all time. And we all knew when you got rid of 6 starters on the defense in free agency and didn't bring anybody to replace them that has speed or ability to coverage in the linebacker position, that it was going to be the same old story, right? If everything didn't work out just right and go perfect, well, it didn't work out and go perfect. And Max Crosby talked about it, right? He talked about it on his podcast. He said himself, his own words, I'm not here for a rebuild. I'm not here for a rebuild. I believe we have the right pieces in the building to win now. After he signed his extension, right? Well, since then, Crosby was reported not a fan of the move by Fox Sports' Jay Glazer. Well, from what I hear, Jay Glazer and Crosby have a pretty decent relationship. So if Crosby wants something to be out there or wants it to be known, who other than to put it out there than, a guy like Chef, um, maybe Diana Rusi, right? Maybe a Jay Glazer, right? Because Jay Glazer, being friends with Crosby, is not just going to put this out there and make it look like Crosby wants out if he doesn't have thoughts in his mind, right? If he's not contemplating the situation. And I spoke about it the day they benched him. I said, I really feel like the foundation has been cracked. I really feel like the earth has shifted, right? He wants to be a Raider. But benching Max Crosby, the most competitive dude on the planet, he looks up to Jordan. He looks up to Kobe Bryant. He's one of the most competitive dudes on the planet. He plays 100% of the snaps, 10, 11, 12 games out of the year, more than anybody on the planet has ever played. And then you bench the guy. So I thought then, right, there's going to be more of a problem. We've been asked this question on the channel many, many times. And I said, I really felt like if Pete Carroll was fired, right? If Pete Carroll was fired, Max Crosby is more than likely not going to want to be here for a rebuild. Spytech, we'll get to that in a second. But Jay Glazer reported that Crosby, I don't even know what the hell that word means, vehemently disagreed with the decision and left the facility after learning about it. Now, Pete Carroll came and said he wasn't happy with the decision either, right? He took the side of Max Crosby. He said he wasn't happy with the decision. He knows how Max Crosby felt. He understood why he felt that way. It was all, he would feel the same way. Max is a competitor. He wants to play, right? So Pete Carroll jumped on the side of Max Crosby. We know the relationship there. So one of the reasons Crosby decided to come back was Pete Carroll, right? Stability, the blueprint, a quarterback in Gino that Crosby backed and said, Gino's one of the most competitive guys. He watches film, he knows football, and then comes out and has a year like he has. So with tensions seemingly running high between Crosby and the organization, Athletics' Diana Rusi reported earlier this week that people around the league believe that Las Vegas will be open to trade talks for Max Crosby if the two sides can't mend their strained relationship. Now, this ain't just me speculating. This ain't me just guessing like I was 2 months ago, 3 months ago, or even last year when I said if it doesn't work with Pete Carroll, Max is not going to want to be here. Like, you can't continue to hold this man down. So, if they can't mend the strained relationship, firing Pete Carroll, I think, fractured the foundation even more than benching Max Crosby those last 2 games. There was reports that the Raiders, when they fired Pete Carroll, they allowed Pete Carroll to go address the team. No team that I've ever heard of has allowed their coach that has been fired to go in the building and address the team and let them know that he's been fired and say some words to him. They allowed Pete Carroll that privilege because of the respect for Pete Carroll and what he's done in the NFL. The players supposedly lined up one by one, hugged Pete Carroll, thanked him, after he gave his speech. They were all kind of emotional. A lot of the players loved Pete Carroll, right? Max was one of them. Raiders general manager John Spytek downplayed recent trade rumors on Max Crosby. He was asked by a reporter. I don't know who asked. I don't remember. But in the Spytek press conference, he asked Spytek, "Is Max Crosby untouchable?" Quote, unquote. Spytek, "I love Max," he told reporters. "He embodies what a Raider is. I've been pretty upfront. With that from day one. I sat up here a year ago, and I continued to believe that." End, quote, unquote. He did not say, yes, Max Crosby is untouchable. If he knew Max Crosby was guaranteed not having thoughts about not wanting to be here for a rebuild, then why wouldn't he just say, yes, he is untouchable? Instead, he showed how he felt about Max Crosby and how he felt about him this year, and he still has the same feelings. But the question I asked to you, does Max Crosby have those same feelings he's had in the last couple years? Crosby, 28, coming off a season in which he recorded 73 tackles, 10 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, an interception in 15 games. Pretty high numbers. He was, I think, 6th in the NFL for tackles for loss. Not playing the last 2 games probably, hurt that. But let me know in the comments how you feel. And if you feel more like Max Crosby has a chance to be traded this year more than ever, double tap that screen, like, subscribe, follow, and let me know, what would you want from Max Crosby? If you're the GM, if you're the owner, and Crosby says to you, look, man, 7 years, bro, promise after promise, right? I've given my all year after year. I got the shit tatted on me. I love this team, but I want to be great, and my greatness is not coming from being a Las Vegas Raider. What do you do? What do you want? Just went and bought paid favors, and now being able to play a game. Nice. You should go get some LV-RaidersRebel. It'd be good for your followers. I think I have some somewhere, maybe, possibly. Yeah, by the way, I hope everyone is having an amazing day. Nice. Appreciate you. Hope you're having one too. QBR doesn't win ball games. No, it doesn't. But interceptions don't either. And taking, 15 yards sacks for a loss, it doesn't either. So, doesn't win ball games. Coaches win ball games. Players win ball games. Stats don't do shit. Who will the Raiders draft? I mean, shit. It's hard to say, bro. It's hard to say. I've talked about it before. I believe they had, they've had a bunch of these, playoff games. But before that, in the regular season, they were at 5 Penn State games. Penn State has one of the nastiest offensive guards in all of football. This dude is just an absolute monster. We'll talk about that more tomorrow. Um, but definitely could be on the list. If Spytek is running this team, we know what Spytek has said since he's been here since day one. Trenches, trenches, trenches. It all starts with Tristan Wirth over there at Tampa Bay, right? That he's mentioned 500,000 times in every interview. You don't think he wants his own, one of those, one of those ones? So I don't know who they will draft, but I wouldn't be surprised if they could trade out. If the offer is right, right? If they can trade out, that they will trade out. Get picks, probably go offensive line. There's a couple of offensive tackles that might not be worth a top 5 pick, but there's probably one or two that are worth a top 10 pick, and we'll see more going forward. Should have kept Jimmy Garoppolo. Stop with that. Stop with that. Patriots, let's beat the Chargers. That's gonna be a good game, man. That's gonna be a good game. The Raiders, came in the first game of the season, and we stomped that ass, belt to ass, right? So the Chargers, they're gonna watch that same tape. I guarantee you, they're gonna watch that same film. They're gonna see what the Raiders did. They're gonna see what the Bills did when they beat the Patriots, and Jim Harbaugh. You know, he's gonna have to show something. This is the time, right? You got an injured, beat up team. You got an injured quarterback with a broken hand he's been playing with. He got the rest for a week. Hopefully that helps. I mean, not hopefully. For them, it helps. I don't really care. I'm rooting for the Patriots all day. I don't care about the Patriot way, but I do not want the Chargers to win a playoff game. MVP race, Stafford or May. I think what May's done in his second year in the NFL, he should be given that shit. I think he earned it. But then Matthew Stafford, with his age, the way he's playing, but I think with McVay, the structured system that they've had for the last couple years, I think, the real most valuable player is definitely Drake May. I mean, he's the most valuable player for the Patriots. If you take Drake May off the Patriots, what do you got? What do you got? If you was to put Joe Milton back there that they got rid of, I mean, are they the same Patriots? Are they only losing 3 games this season? I don't believe so. If you take Matthew Stafford off the Rams and you have Jimmy Garoppolo out there still throwing to Devontae Adams and Puka Nakua and and the tight end over there, I don't think they win as many games, but I think they will win more games than putting a different quarterback with the Patriots, right? So to me, I feel like Drake May is definitely the MVP. What he's done in his second year with a team that only won 3 games last year, with a new offensive coordinator, a new head coach, it just speaks volumes to the talent of that young man. But if Matthew Stafford goes out and I don't know, when do they vote? Do they vote before or after the Super Bowl? Somebody let me know. Is the voting finished before or after the Super Bowl? Because if they wait till the playoffs, and Matthew Stafford goes out there and just lights it up, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard to choose. Definitely. I know who Defensive Player of the Year is. Y'all want to know? Y'all want to know who the defensive player is? Let me know. Let me know. Double tap the screen. Hit them like buttons. Come on, show me some love. Show YouTube some love. I'm asking the Raiders. Gunner, what? What are you talking about, bro? An elite O-line will completely turn the offensive around. Absolutely. Absolutely. If you have the right quarterback. If you have the right quarterback. There's some teams that have decent offensive lines, but still just can't get quarterback play. Miami had a solid line. I mean, look at how they run the ball, right? They have a solid offensive line. They just can't get enough out of Tua. If you look at who else am I trying to think of? the Cardinals, they've had offensive line too. They just can't get help from the defense. So offensive line, yes, is definitely going to turn it around, especially when you have a player like Genty, when you have a Brock Bowers. The trenches, it all starts in the trenches. We know that. We all know that. Both sides of the ball, defense, offense. And you just got to have dogs that are willing to dominate the man in front of them, which pause if you have to. Hello, sir. I was going to ask if you need some help. I can teach you about God, and then I'm an upcoming YouTuber, and I can inspire from Charlie Kirk, and I want to help make the world better. Thank you. Well, continue on your journey, man. I appreciate you, but I don't think I need to. I read the Bible like at least twice, and probably all the pages in between. Shit, probably 3 times. So I don't know how much you're gonna help me, but I appreciate you and in your journey and preaching the word. Most teams, the quarterbacks are the face of the franchise, and since we don't have a QB, some fans are high on Mendoza. But is that going to be the face of the franchise with Max there, right? Is that going to be the face of the franchise with Max there? And how do you know Arch Manning couldn't be the face of the franchise next year? If you trade back and you have capital for next year, you just go get your quarterback next year. We all know CJ Carr has been talked about by Brady, right? Of being that guy. Does he have his eye on him? Is it just a smoke screen to get people to believe he's waiting for a quarterback next year? Which I don't really know why you have to have a smoke screen because you have the number one overall pick. You don't have to hide who you're drafting, right? And I felt like if the Raiders knew who they were drafting, they would just come out and say, "Look, we're picking Mendoza. We wanted to be out there. Let Adam Shefty drop it, right? Everybody, hey, Mendoza is the pick for the Raiders, like Chicago did, right? Like they knew that was their guy. They let it be known. Now we ain't trading back. This is our guy. Same thing with the Titans last year. They let it be known. Cam Ward is our guy. We're not coming off this pick. We believe he's our future. And if the Raiders believe in Mendoza, then maybe they should do that. Or maybe they should do it anyways if they don't believe in him, just to up the value. Because the value to move up in this draft is not going to be as high as it's been the last 3, 4, 5 years. It sucks. It sucks. Please look at what I texted. It may help you and someone else too. I think I did. I read it, didn't I? Yeah. Yeah, it might. Do you have a channel? Go check out our channel. Show them some love. I didn't sip the Kool-Aid, but I did expect 5 to 7 wins. 5 to 7 wins is respectable. With Pete Carroll and his track record and having a running game finally with the offensive line that we had last year, I really believed we were a 9-10 win team. And if everything went great, we could win more than that. However, they decided to move the whole offensive line around and play, musical chairs with the offensive line. And then when Colton Miller got hurt, you go with Stone Forsythe, who has been a practice squad player, instead of the guy you drafted and let him develop. They did the same thing with DJ Glaze last year, and it worked just fine. He was fine as a rookie. And I believe Charles Grant could have did the same thing. And just the mistakes they made, it was just bad coaching. This team is not as far off as a lot of people think. And I've been saying that for the last 2 years until they traded half the defense away. But now we are a little farther away. We need linebackers. We need a safety. We need another corner. We need a slot corner bad more than anything. Jade Barron would have looked so good last year if we could have just traded back last year. But we need a lot, man. We need a lot. And a quarterback is not going to help. And let me say this. If you draft a quarterback right now, right, and you're in a complete rebuild, you only have 4 years. I've said this the other day. You only have 4 years on that rookie contract, on that rookie deal. The whole point of drafting a rookie is so you can win games and develop your team and get better as a franchise with a rookie in those first 4 years. So when those 4 years are up and his fifth year his option is up, you know whether this is your franchise guy and you want to pay him that big level $700,000 million contract, because by the time Mendoza in 4 years, who knows what quarterbacks will be making? I mean, shit, they're already making $50 million now, minimum probably. I mean, Geno Smith made 30, 33. Geno Smith made 33 M's. So in 4 years, what's the quarterback's going to be, right? You have Brock Bowers you got to pay. You have Ashton Genty you got to pay. And it just makes no sense to get a quarterback when you don't know who your head coach is going to be, who your offense is going to be, what scheme they're going to run, what scheme the offensive line is going to run. Are they going to run, a power scheme? Are they going to run zone? Are they going to run power zone? Are they going to run inside zone, outside zone? What are they going to run, right? Gap scheme. What are they going to run? You don't know. So you don't know how to draft. So first off, they got to go get their coaching staff in place, which needs to happen really, really quick. And we've been doing this every single year. We're behind when we get to the draft because we don't have a coaching staff in place. Most teams right now, they're bored. They already know, like, man, this is what we're going after because this is my coach, this is my offensive coordinator, this is my defensive coordinator, and this is my staff. And I know what to look for in players. The Raiders don't know. They know what Spytek wants, but we heard Spytek say he's going to let the head coach pick his staff, right? So if you're letting your head coach pick your staff, then you have no idea what kind of players you're looking for. You have no vision of what you want this team to look like or where you want it to be in the next, I got to turn on the light, in the next 3 years or 5 years. We heard John Spytek say, right? We're in a rebuild. He had openly admitted this is a rebuild. This is a rebuild. So you draft your quarterback and you hope to God that whoever you bring in as coach and the offensive line coach and the offensive coordinator gel with your quarterback and you have success and the offensive line you bring in all fits and works and you get a receiver and it all works out with Bowers. Who's to say that this offensive coach that comes in, the next coach that comes in, doesn't do something stupid like John Gruden come in and traded Khalil Mack? What if he comes in and trades Brock Bowers? What if he comes in and trades Ashton Genty? Said, nah, we're not ready for a running back. Let's give this dude to somebody that wants a running back. Because every head coach that comes in that has weapons like that uses those weapons as collateral, right, to develop your team. Max Crosby. What if the new head coach comes in and says, all right, Max is great, but I really like Max and I really think he needs a future with another team so he can, go be great like he wants to and win, make it to the playoffs and win. And I believe that, I can get enough picks in this draft or this draft and next year's draft to turn this franchise around in 2 years. That's usually how it's done. I mean, the history of the NFL repeats itself. Every coach comes in and says, I don't like this dude that he drafted. I don't like this dude he drafted. I don't like his attitude. I don't like his hair. I don't like the way he paints his nails. I don't like the way he looks, right? Let's get rid of them. Let's move on. I mean, who didn't do that? Who didn't do that, right? Josh McDaniels came in. He got rid of Derek Carr. They released Derek Carr, a top 15 quarterback in the NFL. What franchise gets away with releasing a top 15 quarterback in the NFL and just letting them walk and getting nothing for him after they pay him $160-40 million contract, right? So McDaniels comes in, he gets rid of Carr, sets us back. John Gruden came in, he got rid of Khalil Mack, he got rid of Amari Cooper, right? Sets us back. I mean, every coach that's come in is going to get rid of somebody. AP came in last year. They didn't really get rid of too much, but they got rid of enough. That didn't help, right? Pete Carroll comes in this year. They get rid of Nate Hobbs. They get rid of Trayvon Moehrig. They get rid of Marcus Epps. They get rid of Divine Diablo. They get rid of Robert Spillane. They get rid of what could be our future linebacker and Amari Gaynor, who is now over there with the Patriots and will probably be one of those ones at the position under Mike Vrabel. I mean, so drafting a quarterback, yeah. I mean, you could draft one. You could draft one. Grandpa Harold, what's good? Appreciate you, my guy. Raiders suck. Max is pissed. He was sad the last 2 weeks. Might be the cherry on top. I believe it is. I believe it is. I believe it is. And like I said, when Spytek came out and, said what he said instead of just answering the question and he danced around the question, that's a simple question. I mean, you're the GM. You came out, you put everything on your shoulders. You said, put it on me. He said he needed to be better and keeping guys in the building, which I thought was, I don't even know the word for it. But when you say something like that's your foundation and that's what you believe in more than anything, right? Because didn't John Spytek come out and say his main belief was what he learned in Tampa Bay? You keep great players in the building. And what was the first thing he did? He let all our great players on defense walk. All of them were drafted Raiders except two of them, Spillane and Epps. All of them were the foundation of this franchise that we wasted draft picks on to let them walk. We got a couple years out of them. Let them go. Bronco what? There's only one nation, boy. That's Raider Nation. Well, you could try to be like us. It's fine. You can try to be a nation. I hope you've been having a great New Year's. It's been pretty good. It's been pretty good. Max to the Lions for 2 first isn't bad. Not as bad as the Mac trade though. Yeah, but what do we do with those picks, right? That's the main thing. If you look at the Lions right now, where are they picking? Right, they finished pretty good, so they're probably what 14 through 18 somewhere in there. I think the first 18. I think the first 18 picks are already secured. The rest of those teams are in the playoffs, so we don't know where they're going to be. So the Lions are somewhere up there, right? 16, 18 somewhere. That's not a great draft pick. So you go from first to 18, and then you get a first next year. I don't think that's not helping. It's not helping our future. Future maxed. Why is everybody saying max to Seattle, bro? Like if this organization does any business with Seattle, who absolutely swindled them to give up a third round for Geno Smith, I don't think they'll ever do business with Seattle again. Ever. Ever. Salute. Sorry, I've been super busy these past couple days. Appreciate you, my guy, popping in. Max to the Chiefs is best, bro. Max is a Raider for sure, and I don't. I mean, unless you did something really really bad to piss Max off, I don't see him allowing himself to be traded in a division. That would be crazy. I'm driving, so I can't mod. Make sure that I appreciate you. Do I want Harbaugh? I'm done with old coaches, man. I'm done. Like you had Lamar Jackson, you had plenty of weapons over there. You had plenty of weapons on the decent defensive side who hasn't done nothing. Um, what are we gonna get out of Harbaugh? Would I be mad? Probably not. I'm not. I wouldn't be as upset as as Pete bringing in his kids and bringing in Gino. You take a first and a second. Damn, for Max, that's just crazy. That's financial suicide right there. Sleep, stay safe. Thank you. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Who is the coach of the year this year? Oh, Nathan with a good question. Well, that's a damn good question, bro. That's a damn good question. It's definitely not going to be Stefanski. I mean, you got to look at Liam Cohen. I think Liam Cohen. You got to put Ben Johnson in that scenario, and you got to throw Mike Shanahan in there. I mean, what he's done with the 49ers, with the injured team on every single position. I mean, the whole team has had, second and third string players all year long. So you got to put the 49ers coach in there. And that's about it. I mean, that's about it. I think those are the top three, right? Anybody have any different ones? Let me know. Let me know. Let me know who you got. Who is your coach of the year candidates? Let me know in the comments. Thanks. I got some trivia party of games for the stream. Nice, nice. Sounds like fun. What kind of party games? Do you think New England? Wait, do you still hate New England for the Tuck rule? Absolutely, absolutely. I don't hate New England as much as I hate the refs. Right? It wasn't New England's fault. It wasn't really Tom Brady's fault. He just he was the one that part had to be part of the play. Right? So if anything, I blame the refs. I blame the NFL. You know, for allowing refs to to end games and to change games. That year should have been us. I don't know if we would have won the Super Bowl, but I know we would have been pretty damn close as we beat the the team that made it there that year. So um, yeah, yeah, I'm always gonna be bitter from the Tuck rule. Harbaugh out in Baltimore. Yeah, we talked about that earlier. Um, what's your thoughts? Do you think a Harbaugh Raider reunion in the AFC West would be a good battle, brother against brother twice a year? I heard that the Ravens fire Harbaugh. Yes, yes. Do you think he could end up getting him? I talked about that a little bit ago. Raider Ryan was good. I wouldn't be mad either way. I think Harbaugh is a damn good coach. He's always in the playoffs. He's going to build a structurally sound team, and I think maybe just his time in Baltimore just might have been done, kind of like Tomlin's with the Patriots. Um, High room from Bronco Country. High room. I don't even know what that means. Miami needs a new head coach as well. Did you hear him in the interview today? Bro, I know his last name is McDaniels, but he straight turned into Josh McDaniels. Old boy was up there for like, um, 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 spit it out. Talking about Tua. They asked him if, Tua's going to be back next year. He said, quarterback, situation, looking down, looking over here. Like, I don't know. Something's going on with some of these coaches and these players. NFL needs to investigate what's going on with some of these dudes. You did not look right. So yes, Miami probably needs a new head coach. I would not be surprised if you hear that sometime tomorrow morning, even today, if it's not already being reported. I'm sure within the next couple hours. It's a little later there, so probably not, not today since it's already an hour ahead. But Bird got 7 interceptions, but yeah, 23 sacks. Probably got defensive player of the year. 7 interceptions is a lot, man. It's a lot, but 23 sacks. I mean, with 80, what do you have? 84 pressures, 84 pressures with 23 sacks. If that don't get you defensive rookie of the year, I mean defensive player of the year, I don't know what will. Shout out for the 6'7" in the building. Candy is really smart. Yes, she is a genius. You hate my team? Do I like the Chiefs? Well, you come in here and tell me you hate my team and then ask me if I like the Chiefs? Not anymore. Not anymore. Nah, I don't like the Chiefs, bro. Dude, don't get Arch Manning, LOL. What do you mean don't get Arch Manning? How could you not want the most athletic Manning of all time? Both Mannings have won Super Bowls. They have won multiple playoff games with good teams, with bad teams. They are winners. Their grandfather's a winner. Their daddy's a winner. The whole damn Manning family is winners. Arch Manning is the best college football player right now, athletic wise. As a quarterback, in my mind, I seen the man, I said it before and I'll say it again, run over a defensive lineman with a shoulder and put him on his back. Like, the kid's strength is, breaking tackles, running through tackles is way underestimated. I do believe his speed. He was clocked running faster than what they say, faster than Tyreek Hill or some shit. 21 miles per hour. Come on, man. This dude in the open field is a monster. Yes, he's got to work on his mechanics and his throwing and his timing, but all of that will come. It's only his second year in the NFL. He didn't in the college football. He didn't even play last year. The couple games he did play in, you know, he looked he looked like the best quarterback on the team. So the other one decided to move and go somewhere else. So, you know, Arch Manning is gonna be him, bro. And if he stays one more year in school, come on, that kid is gonna be lights out, man. Lights out. You guys are getting Cliff from Washington. Here's my thing on Cliff Kingsbury. That's what I gotta say. That's what I say last year when he said he was gonna take the job for the Las Vegas Raiders and be the offensive coordinator, and then got offered another job by the Washington Commanders and decided, f the Raiders and I'm out of here, bro. That's what I think about Cliff Kingsbury. I don't want your chump ass, bro. I don't care how good of a quarterback developer you are. You're not a good head coach. You never were a good head coach. You had one good year with Kyler Murray, made it to the playoffs, and that whole team fell apart. You had one good season with Jaden Daniels. He got hurt, and your whole Washington offense fell apart. I don't want that, dude. Come on, man. Come on. Don't put Cliff Kingsbury here. He shouldn't even get an interview after what he did last year. And I don't know what the circumstances were, but I don't care. But the point is, that you said you were gonna be a Las Vegas Raider, bro, and then you backed out of it. Nah, don't even come in this building. I don't even want that clown here. As a Broncos fan, my advice is to trade back and get a quarterback next year. That's my advice too. That's my advice too, right? Let me drop this. Let me drop this. A little analogy for you. If you're in need of a new car, right? Say your car breaks down, it's running like shit. You might have to cut it, take it to the junk. You need a new vehicle. You go to a car dealership. This car dealership only has one car on the lot. Do you buy that car because you need a vehicle? Or do you drive across the street or down the street to a car lot that has a whole shit full of cars that you could pick? Do you want a big car, a four-door car, a fast car, a truck, a van, right? You have your choice. That's what this NFL draft is this year and next year. You have one quarterback, Fernando Mendoza. If Dante Moore and Ty Simpson don't come out, which if they come out, it's just bad advice by whoever's giving them advice. If Fernando Mendoza is the only quarterback in the first round, that's how this draft is. You take one quarterback because you need a quarterback right now. Like it's going to make a difference if you take one this year or next year. If you take one this year, he's going to sit for a year. If you take one next year, he's going to sit for a year. It doesn't matter when we get a quarterback. Drafting a quarterback this year, I could almost 100% guarantee you Tom Brady does not let him play in the first year. No matter who it is. No matter who it is. That is not his beliefs. Everything he says and everything he goes against is starting quarterbacks drafted first overall in the draft or even drafted in the first round of the draft. That is not Tom Brady's belief. So Raider Nation can, get hyped up and believe everything they want to believe that Mendoza's going to be that guy. But all the signs, and unless Tom Brady's full of shit and he just gets on here and lies to everybody every time he speaks, I don't see Mendoza being the pick this year. I don't see the Raiders taking a quarterback number one overall. Now, if they trade back and there's a quarterback there, possibly. They might like a guy like, Cade Klubnik, who a lot of people are comparing, have compared to other quarterbacks. They might like a guy like Drew Allar, right? Drew Allar was killing it in Penn State a year ago. The guy got hurt. We'll see what he does in the combine. If he even shows up, which I'm sure he will. But he's had more time than all these quarterbacks to work on his game once he was healed. So don't sleep on those quarterbacks. There's quarterbacks in this draft that the Raiders might say, hey, we got 3 fourth-round picks. There's going to be a bunch in the fourth round. We're going to have the first or second pick, I do believe, in the fourth round. I think it's the first pick in the fourth round. You get your quarterback then, right? If it doesn't work out and you trade back and you have picks next year, if one of those teams suck, you get your quarterback again. So it just makes all the sense in the world to go get a quarterback next year. And shit, maybe even 2 years. I mean, if you trade Max and trade the first round pick, you could end up, we already have 10 picks. If we trade Max, that's at least minimum, I think, 3 picks. 2 first and a second, 2 picks and a third. I seen somebody in a mock draft trade him to the Chicago Bears for 2 first rounds, a second round, and a fourth round. I mean, if you can get 4 picks for Max Crosby and you can get 3 or 4 picks for the first round, I mean, for the first overall pick, that's 8 picks. That gives you 18 picks in this year's draft and next, and or, you know, whatever, how 14 picks in this year's draft and another 4 plus next year. I mean, that's the way you build a team, in my opinion. Hey Troy, I do nothing but offend you. Don't come in here and start talking crap on the channel. Who said what? I missed it. Hey, you only won because Mahomes wasn't there. I mean, hot take, hot take. Last time Aiden O'Connell played the Chiefs, he beat Mahomes, and that's when he was there still winning. You know, Aiden O'Connell. I said this before, and shout out to the people that watch my channel. You know, that report my shit. In their little news reports or repost it, you know, all over X. Shout out to y'all. Shout out to y'all. Appreciate y'all for watching in here. But you know, I said it before. Aiden O'Connell should be 3-1 against the Kansas City Chiefs. He's only 2-2, but barring a botch snap last year, Aiden O'Connell would be 3-1 against the Kansas City Chiefs. And y'all didn't even want this kid on your team. What did Gino do? 0-31. Oh, oh. We need more than that to be honestly. It's two. If our twos and thirds or practice squad are horrible, we need to blow it up and start over. Yes, I agree with that 100%. But how do we know? How do we know if these guys are horrible? None of them got enough burn this year to really, you know, say. Charles Grant played 50 snaps, I do believe, total. Caleb Rogers played 212 or 220 or something. Not enough, right? Darian Porter played less than 200 snaps, I do believe. Dante Thornton had 80 something snaps and didn't catch a ball in the last 8 weeks of the season. Oh my God, some shit. So, I mean, we haven't seen anybody other than that, right? Cody Lindenberg never got on the grass except for special teams. Tommy Eichenberg, the little bit we seen from Tommy Eichenberg, showed that he could tackle, showed that, you know, he could stop the run. He can cover out there if he has to, better than the guys we got. So I think a lot of this team is underestimated. I still feel like I did last year with AP. They didn't let none of the young guys play. And there was a lot of guys on the roster that I felt should have been, you know, getting playtime. Because when they were out there, they looked better than the guys in front of them, right? But they're only out there for small spurts. And the same thing happened this year. They did the exact same thing. They went and got rid of a bunch of guys and brought in a bunch of guys that, you know, Pete just put in position, said compete, which was a total, you know, dog shit lie. And you just gave guys jobs. Like, your linebacker, your corner, your safety, your quarterback, your left tackle, and we're gonna roll with that all year. And it killed, you know, it killed the evaluation of what we did draft, because we drafted, right, 11 players. 2 of them left. That leaves 9. Where's the rest of the guys? Where's the rest of the guys? We seen Genty, we seen Besh, we seen a little bit of Thornton. We've seen Caleb Rogers. We've seen a little bit of Charles Grant. Who's the other 4? Who was the other 4 draft picks? Cody Lindenberg. Oh, Tonka Hemingway and JJ Pegues. We've seen very, very little of Tonka Hemingway, very little of JJ Pegues. But when they were out there, Tonka Hemingway last week, 2 sacks. Tonka Hemingway has had 4 sacks in his last 2 games or 3 games. I mean, why wasn't he out there all year? So I believe there's a lot of sleepers on this roster that, with the right coaching staff, that comes in and doesn't just talk competition but really has a competition, then we can weed out, you know, how bad these guys are. But if we can move Jordan Meredith from a starting guard spot to a backup guard spot and replace him with a better starter, definitely. You know, if we can move Kappa, somehow he'd probably be back. If we can move Kappa from a starting center to a backup center, I think that adds more depth, right? So one or two more line pieces, and I think we're good. And tomorrow we will break down offensive linemen and defensive linemen. No mock drafts, way too early until we find out, who's going to be there, who's going to. I'm not wasting my time or your time to tell you the Raiders have a chance to draft this kid, and then he just decides not to declare. So, what time does the Raiders game start on Sunday? You're funny. Funny. That's true about the quarterback. And extra true about the halfback. They took Ashton Genty instead of Mimbu last year. Yeah, I think Genty was probably a year too early. If they would have stayed with the offensive line they had last year, I gotta turn on another light. If they would have stayed with the offensive line they had last year, I believe this team and Ashton Genty would have had way more success. Right? They were set up for success. They ended the season successful when Joe Philbon took over the offensive line. They got better. And then Joe Philbon was pushed to the back to assistant, to offense assistant or offense manager or whatever he is. But the point is, when Philbon was running our offensive line, they were solid. He's a former head coach. You took a former head coach whose specialty is offense and offensive line, and you pushed him to the back for Brennan Carroll. And now everybody's gonna say that we don't have a good offensive line or we need to revamp it. And I agree, there are some dudes that need to go, but somehow, some way, we need to see if the guys that didn't get to play are worth a shit. Oh, it hurt your feelings. You don't respond to stupid shit, my dad. Who's talking about your daddy? Why don't you just block him? Um, doesn't matter our coaches and players. You have to establish a culture first, then go from there. 100%. Can you establish that culture? Can you establish that culture with a coach nobody likes? It didn't work with Josh McDaniels. Be nice, Troy. Trade Max on the first pick on how to gain draft capital to bring in quality free agents. I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense, but only if Max doesn't want to be here. Grounded for 30 minutes. Damn. New England did it. San Francisco released Joe Montana. Yeah. Yeah. The Broncos did it too. Didn't they just release didn't they release Russell Wilson? Montana's all-time GOAT. Agree with Detroit. Joe Montana was the GOAT. But with Joe Montana, I mean, I guess he was good in Kansas City, right? Somebody said he won playoffs, two playoffs there. They had a decent team anyway. But Joe Montana, I mean, who do you have around him, bro? Roger Craig, Jerry Rice, um, and I just drew a blank. One of the best defenses in all of football, right? Not saying he wasn't great. Not saying he wasn't great. One of the best offensive lines of all time. He spent a year on the couch with injuries, and then outplayed like another year anyway. Tom Brady has something to say on the GOAT conversation. Yeah. Yeah. The greatest of all time. That's what GOAT means. And some people get carried away with that. Everybody's a GOAT all of a sudden. But you can only have one. You can't one at each position. One at each position. And I think Tom pretty much owns that right now. I mean, not even close, right? Tom Brady never played back in the day when they let you hit a quarterback. But Tom Brady also had an offensive line that didn't let too many people get to their quarterback, right? They had one of the highest paid offensive lines every year in football. So did the Tampa Bay Bucks when they brought Tom Brady in. Max gets traded, he'll go to the Cowboys, or to Michigan to the Lions. Will they allow Max if the relationship is, shattered, which I'm not saying it is, but if it is, if the relationship is broken, will they allow Max to choose what team he wants to go to? Are they gonna let him pick his team? Like if you had 4 teams or 5 teams or probably 10 or 15 teams, knowing Max Crosby, that wanted to, trade for Max Crosby, are you letting him pick his team? First pick for the old Raiders, we drafted a busted up QB. Brady was signed by Montreal, so he's old. Damn, that's pretty old. That's pretty old. So for being in and out, been busy. Appreciate you, dog. If the Raiders trade Crosby, I'm telling you, Raiders fan won't get as many high picks as you think. Why not? Why not? I mean, look, there's there's teams that are just a Max Crosby away, and I guarantee you, those teams are going to be willing to give up a king's ransom. Right now, teams like the Cowboys, Jerry Jones would do anything to have Max Crosby back in Texas, where he's from, playing in Dallas Stadium, and he's got the draft capital to do it. And if anybody's crazy enough to throw 3 first-round picks to get Max Crosby, it would be a Jerry Jones in a minute. I don't trust the other Harbaugh dude. Might be a traitor. Brother versus brother twice a year bowl would be fun to see, right? Right. I posted that on X as soon as it came out. That I was like, damn, that would be fun to watch. That'd be fun to watch. Two brothers battling for the division twice a year, right? They could talk, let each other know about Kansas City. It'd be pretty nice, pretty nice. Talk about Kansas City and the Broncos when they play, share information, help each other out. That'd be nice. Who's your wild? Wait, who you taking in wild card weekend? I don't even know what wild card weekend is. Hold on. Who are the teams? Somebody post in the chat. Wild card weekend. San Francisco and Philly. Let's see what we got here. We got Philadelphia. Let's see. The Niners struggled together 6 straight wins, averaging the NFL's best 35.7 points per game in that span. The defense. I'm gonna take the. I'm gonna. I hate taking them. I'm gonna take. I'm gonna take San Francisco. I'm gonna take San Francisco. And then the other game. Where the hell's the other wild card game? Shit, I don't know. I don't know. That's all I got for you. That's all I got for you. Who are the wild card games this weekend? All right, so what we got? It says Rams versus Panthers, Packers, Bears, Jacksonville, um, and the Bills. Oh shit! Chargers, Patriots. Didn't they win their division? Top seeds are getting a bye. Oh yeah, got it. So what the fuck games? All right, so the 10th games are the Rams at Carolina, Green Bay at Chicago. I'm gonna take the Rams. I mean, you got Matthew Stafford battling for MVP over here, uh, throwing darts like he's 20 years old to Puka Nakua and Devontae. If they have Devontae back, it's definitely the Rams. I don't know what the points is, but Carolina's defense is tough, man. So look for it to be a tough game. And then Green Bay at Chicago. There's a lot of people I heard that want Green Bay's coach to, Green Bay to lose because they believe if they do lose, that Matt LaFleur, not Mike LaFleur, the guy that I want from the Rams, but the former Rams OC that didn't call plays, that is now the head coach for the Packers, Matt LaFleur. There's a lot of people that want him to be in the running for the head coach for the Las Vegas Raiders. So people are rooting, for the Packers to lose. Um, Me being the only team that I've ever liked, in my life other than the Raiders was the 85 Bears, 84, 85 Bears with the Super Bowl shuffle, only because they had Walter Payton, which is my favorite player of all time in history. Um, just an absolute dog. So I'm gonna have to pick the Bears on this. I'm gonna have to pick the Bears. I think the Packers, no Micah Parsons, struggling defense, a head coach that's on the ropes doesn't look good for the Green Bay Packers. So, yeah, Rams, Bears. Sunday, January 11th. I'm gonna take the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm gonna take the Jaguars over the Bills, and I think something happens with the Buffalo Bills after that. I think their head coach gets fired. I think their offensive coordinator takes some job somewhere, and I think they might blow that team up, which would be absolutely crazy. You know, I'm sure Josh Allen is not want to rebuild. But if they get beat in the only year where the Kansas City Chiefs are not there to knock them out, and all they have to worry about is teams that have never been in the playoffs in a long, long, long ass time, like the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Chargers, the Broncos, a team that they beat like the Patriots, those are the teams standing in their way. If Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills could not get past the Jacksonville Jaguars, you heard that shit here first. Look for that team to be blown up. So I'm gonna go Jacksonville Jaguars. I think, the addition of Jacoby Myers, you brought that dog in the building on offense. He's gonna do all the dirty things to help your guys, your run game, to help your offense get open, help your tight ends. He's gonna help the offense. He helps your quarterback being a target that no matter what, if you go through your first, second progression, you always know where Jacoby Myers is going to be. And if you don't have anywhere to throw the ball to, you could throw it to Jacoby Myers. So I think giving them that element, has really, really helped Jacksonville Jaguars and whoever the hell their quarterback is, Trey Lance. And, the running game is picked up. Their defense is, tops in the league in takeaways, in points after turnovers also. They got some young up and coming receivers like Parker, who is, just killing it this year, having a hell of a year. I think Jacksonville Jaguars is going to be a handful. I think Liam Cohen has that team fired up, and I think the Bills, they've been struggling up and down all year long. So, uh, yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I already told you I'll take San Francisco over Philly. If you want the points, and all that shit, well, I might do it live tomorrow, or I might put it on my Patreon, which I still haven't got to. I don't even know why I started it. I've been so damn busy. But don't worry, it's coming. It's coming as off season. We're gonna have some shit on there. Chargers, New England. Didn't the Chargers win the division? I got I got New England. I think Jake May is just too much to handle. I think the Chargers have too many injuries. They're on their 20th running back. They're on their 15th offensive lineman. Mekhi Becton that they paid $40 million to in the offseason to be the highest paid guard ever in the history of the NFL has drastically failed and is hasn't even been he's been just bad. Um, and the Chargers are they got Harbaugh. They play for that guy. They run through a brick wall for him. So this team's gonna come out fighting. But I just feel like um, the pieces that they have over there with Drake May running the show on offense, the defense with Caleb on chasing, with Robert Spillane over there, tearing shit up. So I'm gonna pick New England. Houston and Pittsburgh. Damn, that's rough. I don't know. I kind of feel like Pittsburgh's gonna make a run. They ended up 10-7. I don't know how they ended up 10-7. I wish the Raiders just had luck like the Pittsburgh Steelers because with no quarterback, no number one receiver, DK Metcalf in his trouble. The Steelers find a way to win. They constantly find a way to win. They haven't had TJ Watt and I don't know how long. And these guys are just battling and battling and battling. I think the emotion showed by Aaron Rodgers, I think is going to be a spark that's going to, pump up this offensive line and the players around Aaron Rodgers. Whenever you have a quarterback that, that's emotional, that you don't see emotion from, like Aaron Rodgers, I think that's going to do a lot for this team and the defense, right? And, I think the emotion that Aaron Rodgers showed in the interview after the game last week is going to be um, it's gonna spark a little bit of spark under the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and say the Pittsburgh Steelers win over the Houston Texans, and there might be some talks of a new coach over there too. I mean, I don't know. I do not know, but yeah, that's what I got. That's what I know. That's what I done. Um, Please like, subscribe. Appreciate you. We are to 1,800 and 30 something, 30 plus, 30 plus. So we are less than 200 away, less than 200 away from 2,000 subscribers. If we could get there before this football season ends, you know, it would be the world to me. It would at least help me hit a goal that I tried to set, to accomplish a little bit earlier, before the regular season ended. But, if it happens in the next week or two, I'll still count it. So if y'all can help me get to that goal, I can't do it without you, of course. Appreciate it. Patriots and Chargers, I think I just got all that. Is this live? Yes. I hope. I hope. Raiders was at the game, and damn, it feels good to beat the Chiefs. Let's go. Let's go. Speak that truth. Let's go. Um, Even if we are not good at the moment, we will get better soon. Mendoza will be a leader along with Crosby. Okay, okay. You don't think Crosby's going to be on the trading block? You don't think Crosby wants out because Pete Carroll's been fired? I think that is a possibility. And I think Mendoza not being drafted number one overall could be a possibility also. But we shall see, man. We shall see. Like I said, I'm not mad if they pick Mendoza. If that's what this organization feels like, that is the dude to run this franchise, and that's the way they want to go, instead of, try to get more capital and build back, I'm not against it. I'm not against it at all. I think he's definitely has a chance to be one of those ones. And if he's anything close to Drake May, which, more I've been thinking about it, um, character wise, knowledge wise, it might have been a pretty decent comp. I'm gonna have to do some more work on that for sure. Whole bunch of film watching. We could be better with Mendoza next year. Wait, but who could be better than Mendoza in next year's draft? Who could be better than Mendoza? Dante Moore, if he comes out with another year under his belt, easily. Ty Simpson, they say, has, a way higher prospect. CJ Carr for Notre Dame, who had that team, with what, one or two losses this year, should have been in the college playoffs, but because they're an independent team and the college football tries to keeps trying to get them to join the conference. CJ Carr overlooked somebody that our minority owner Tom Brady has mentioned he thinks is the best quarterback in college football right now. They could wait for CJ Carr. He's not eligible this year. Um, Trinidad Chambliss is definitely more athletic, is definitely more fun to watch, can throw the ball, just as far, just as accurate. He had 26 touchdowns this year with almost 4,000 yards passing and only 3 interceptions. So Trinidad Chambliss is up there. Brandon Sorsby, who played for Cincinnati on a struggling team, has has transferred to Texas Tech. He can explode over there with Texas Tech, and you know, Brandon Sorsby could be a guy to watch. Arch Manning, Arch Manning, Arch Manning, and Arch Manning. I mean, what do you mean who's better than those Mendoza next year? There's a lot of quarterbacks in this draft that are projected to be way better than Mendoza in the following year. Maybe not the mental capacity, um, maybe not the love of football like Mendoza, which I do love that. I do love his passion for this game. But there's a lot of quarterbacks, man. There's a lot of quarterbacks. And stay tuned because we will be doing full breakdowns of the draft. We will be doing mock drafts as soon as everybody declares. We got what, 9 more days till they declare. So as soon as that's done, I will be giving reviews. I'll be giving breakdowns. I will try to get reports out on my damn Patreon. Full reports of players. What I think, strength, weaknesses, all that shit, and so look forward to all that. Mendoza is good, but I don't think he is great. If you think Mendoza is the best thing since sliced bread, um, where'd that shit go? Damn it! Since sliced bread, then not point at any of us trying to convince you. What? Did not point at any of us trying to convince you. Oh, at Jeremy. Okay. I was like, what? 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 Um, there's a lot of people that think he's that dude. And he probably is worth, a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. But number one overall, man, I just don't know. I don't know if he's the best player in this draft, right? Do you not take the best player in the draft at number one just because of need? I mean, it would look nice to have, um, damn it, I always forget his name. The defensive end on the other side of Ruben Bain, next to Max Crosby, if they don't trade Max. Ooh, the sunset is nice, bro. Look how blue it is over there in Cali, where y'all at. Um, Brady, Carl, Notre Dame, CJ Carr looks like the best quarterback I've seen at college since Joe Burrow. Facts, facts. And why would Tom Brady, the goat, go out on a limb and say that if he didn't believe that, right? Is he trying to pull a smoke screen? You don't have to pull a smoke screen. You got the number one pick, so you could pick a quarterback this year, or you can wait till the goat Tom Brady goes and gets the guy he wants to get. And um, who is that loudmouth? The loudmouth. I can't think of his damn name. But anyways, one of the ESPN analysts said Tom Brady has to pick this number one pick. This has to be Tom Brady's pick, which that's a hot take, right? But I think that's nonsense. If Tom Brady doesn't want Mendoza as his quarterback, Tom Brady doesn't have to make this first round pick, right? He could give it to Spytek, right? They can all come to a conclusion. Um, let's trade back, let's pick, let's do whatever. But what he was saying is Tom Brady should have the say of who the next quarterback is for the Las Vegas Raiders. So saying that Tom Brady has to pick the next quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders in this draft, Mendoza, is just asinine, bro. It's just asinine. I don't know how these dudes get paid up here to pay these, to put out these stupid ass takes of Tom Brady has to be the pick of the quarterback. We already know that. Mark Davis has said that for the last 3 years that Tom Brady was going to be heavily influenced in picking the next quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders. That doesn't mean because we have the first overall pick that it has to be Mendoza. It does not at all. And when you compare a guy to Joe Burrow, come on, man. I see him. I definitely see him waiting. But the only problem with waiting is there's not an offensive lineman you're taking number one. There's not a defensive lineman probably you're taking number one. So then what do you do with that scenario, right? Do you trade back? What if nobody wants to trade? You know, do you take whatever's there? Do you trade back for I think the Arizona Cardinals offered me yesterday in a mock draft that I did uh a first and 2 seconds. I think they had 34 and 36 or some shit, and I was like, I mean, yeah, let's see what we could do. We got good ass players and good value for that. Was it the right value? But no. But when you look at the draft and the value that's in it, um, sometimes you got to go with the value, especially if you're in a full rebuild. AOC look good, bro. You know, I've been trying to tell y'all. Just imagine what AOC would be right now if he started every single game, or was at least the number one quarterback. Barring injuries, every single game. Where he'd be. C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young. I think he'd be up there. I think he'd be up there. Not with the mobility of Bryce Young. C.J. Stroud doesn't run very much. But Aiden O'Connell's rookie numbers were right there with C.J. Stroud's. And C.J. Stroud played in more games. So, Aiden O'Connell, man, the Raiders made a huge mistake. Now he's in his fourth year. And I believe they wasted valuable time with the kid that could have won more games than Gardner Minshew, with the kid that could have won more games than Geno Smith at $1.4 million. Right? And shout out to the people that, again, watch my live and, throw them takes out there, because I've seen that on X awful lot by a couple people. I think Mo Moten just posted that yesterday. Imagine what the Raiders could have done if they would have rocked with Aiden O'Connell at $1.4 million for the last 2 years. Could have saved a lot of money. We could be way farther. We could have our offensive line built. We could have our defensive line built. $100 million for Geno and Gardner Smith. Gardner Smith. same difference, bro. Same difference. Dante Moore is something else. He's young. He's physical. He's better than Mendoza. He lacks experience. This is his first year starting, and he became the unanimous number 2 quarterback in college football. That is all facts. But the problem is Fernando Mendoza has 12 more starts than he does under his belt. I mean, that's not a lot. But when you're looking at statistics, when you're looking at guys that were drafted, in the first round, in the top 3, that only had, less than 20 starts under their belt, they failed for the first 2, 3, 4 years. The Raiders aren't in that position. We cannot take a quarterback and hope to God that after he sits for a year, he's going to be, the next big thing. Because statistics show it's never been that scenario. Out of 25, three out of 25, that's not good numbers, bro. Not good numbers. And I like Dante Moore. I think, he has a great arm. He has, good mobility. He throws well on the run. He's got enough athleticism where if he's running, he can get his hips around in place. He's got good footwork, good mechanics. Everything could use some work, right? But if he comes out, it's crazy. It's crazy. Ravens best team in the NFL. That's crazy. Kappa getting cut. He's got one more year on his contract. They paid him 2 years, $10 million. So he's got one more year at $5 million. It's Brady and Spytek's guy. I don't see Kappa being cut. I would like to see him cut. We could use that money. We could use that position also for somebody that could fill it. But most thought Dante Moore would declare a month ago, but now people are considering him a better prospect than Mendoza. I don't know how he's a better prospect than Mendoza. I think that's caps. I think that's 100% caps. Now, if you're looking at a scenario like the Raiders and what Tom Brady says, where you're going to sit a guy for a year, no matter what, no matter what, he's going to sit for 1 year and learn the NFL, learn the speed of the game, maybe even two if he doesn't catch up. If you're looking at that scenario, then it makes sense to, take a shot on a guy like that. But at number one or two, hell no, bro. Hell no. That's crazy. That's crazy. We hear all these pros, Kurt Warner, um, Matt Ryan, right? Tom Brady, Drew Brees. You hear all these guys talk about the quarterback situation and how these guys, are put in bad scenarios. Tom Brady being the biggest advocate of guys learning and developing under a system. There's no way any of these guys are starting year one. So if you're telling me you can put Mendoza and Moore on the same team and sit them for a year and who's going to be better, I don't know. I don't know. I know one has a way higher upside. At Slam, stop trying to hype up more. He can't do what Mendoza did. That's tragedy. I totally disagree with that take, bro. I totally disagree with that take. I believe if you put Dante Moore at Indiana, he would have better numbers than Fernando Mendoza right now. Because they have a running game over there. They have receivers, right? He's got Surratt to throw the ball to. He's got the hell's the other dude's name that probably won't come out till next year. But he's got receivers. He's got a top 10 defense, and I know Moore has all that too. But Dante Moore's receivers were hurt this year. They don't have the running game that they have in Indiana. So if you put Dante Moore in Indiana with Signetti, come on, man. I believe they'd be better. Crosby is from Michigan, not Texas. That's where he went to school. Isn't he born in Texas? Let's make sure. Don't want to be putting out false reports and shit. Oh, nope. He was born in Michigan. Leap year, Michigan. Did he play in Texas in high school or some shit? I don't know why I got Texas. Well, shout out for correcting me. Appreciate that. Um, Wild card weekend is the Raiders versus the Couch. I got money on the Couch. Might be a good bet, bro. It might be a good bet. Mendoza can't do what Moore did. He's a top five prospect at 20, only a single season starting. I agree. I agree. But again, he's one of those quarterbacks that's plugged into a team that's always good. They always have a top offensive line. They always have a top defense. They always have five-star recruits at wide receiver, at running back, at every position on the field. So it's hard to evaluate these guys, right? Um, that's why I like guys like Brendan Sorsby. He played at Cincinnati. Yes, they're a solid team. Yes, they have a lot of five-star recruits, right? They have decent coaching, but they had a rough year. They had a rough year. Now he's going to transfer and go to Texas Tech to another great school over there that always develops well, develops quarterbacks well, which is probably why he's going there. Um, Sorsby could be one of those ones too coming out. But yeah, only first year starting after sitting behind. Um, who did he sit behind last year? Oh, Bo Nix. Bills versus Rams Super Bowl. You got the Bills winning the Super Bowl? Damn, I had them losing this week. Oh, hi Steve. Yo, Steve. Who's Steve, bro? I don't know Steve. I don't know who Steve is. Bears, 85 Bears team, greatest team I ever seen. Just my opinion. Every week was a freaking demolition. Right? Right? Every week. That Bears team was nasty. They did they made a video with the Super Bowl shuffle. They were so damn good. If y'all ain't old enough to remember that, just look up the Bears 1985 Super Bowl shuffle. Um, Before rap was even rap, they was out there rapping, doing their little dance and shit. One of the hilarious things you'll ever see. And I hope the Raiders do something like that if they ever make it back to the Super Bowl again. That shit would be hilarious. But yeah, you know, Mike Singletary, um, Jim McMahon. Good lord, yeah, that team was nasty, bro. Nasty. Greatest running back of all time, Walter Payton. Texas riding a 9-game winning streak, beating playoff teams. Geo Max beating beating playoff teams. Yeah, they look decent as hell. They look decent. I mean, that defense is nasty, and I had to pick one team that I thought um, got to be the underdog. Slam, whatever, man. Mendoza is an underdog with a team with 2 to 5 star players. There's no comparing that. How's he got 2 to 5 star? What? He has way more than 2 5-star players. If they're not 5-star recruits, they sure the hell play like it. But you got a coach that gets the best out of people over there. Aaron Rodgers versus Drake May. Dante Moore would make 4 times more money if he was offered an NI deal over his life as a rookie contract. He'd be a year younger than a rookie contract. Team's options could come due for the second count. Um, I don't believe it would be 4 times the money if offered. Brandon Scoresby just signed the highest paid NIL deal, I do believe, at $5 million. Now, maybe for that school, maybe for Texas Tech. Um, but on average, you're going to get 4 to 5 mil. If you're the first or second overall pick in the NFL draft, you're going to get 6 to 8 mil, right? And you're going to get 4 years of that guaranteed because um, you have a 4 year deal with a fifth year option. So do you take do you take 7, 8 possible $1 million with NIL money and deals at Oregon for 1 year and then come out next year when there's 15 quarterbacks that could possibly be in the first round? Just throwing a high number out there, probably more like 10. But even with that, are you going to take a chance of taking that money and then coming out next year when there's going to be a lot more competition and you might be, a 17th overall pick or, a top 10 pick instead of one or two? Then your money falls drastically, right? It goes from 8 million to like 5, 6, million, possibly 4 million. So he's got decisions to make. But I feel if he was to come out now, he would make more money now than you would make with the NIL because, like I said, you got a 4 year guaranteed money, and you're not getting 4 years guaranteed in an NIL deal. Jack Kenna in the building. Oh fuck, I forgot to call you today, Jack Kenna. Damn it. I'll hit you up here in a minute, bro. Salute to you, my guy. Appreciate you. I was just in a car accident yesterday. What the hell? Are you okay, man? Are you good? Obviously, you're texting, but are you hospital ridden? Shout out prayers for Kenna. I hope everything's good. Hope everybody in the car, both cars, are good and well. Prayers for my guy Kenna. Diversity is our greatest strength. Facts. 100%. Raiders. Can you salute sister Geomex for being? DJ Lagway with the size. I think he went to Florida State. I do believe he's transferring to. So, I kind of like him over there. They had another kind of short quarterback. Jordan Travis last year's draft, I do believe, or the year before. What year was Travis Jordan? Travis Jordan? I always get his name mixed up. But they had a decent quarterback over there. So I think DJ Lagway, I like his game. I like his game. I don't know if it translates to the NFL, but uh, he started out hot and then struggled, man. So we'll see where it goes this year. I know where you were January 6th. Where was I? Where was I? Mr. Kennett, I did not say that. I said he's awesome and still want Mendoza. What happened? What I miss? I don't know. And are you feeling okay today, Jack? The Macho Man was great. Oh yeah, Macho Man Randy Savage. Yeah, I like the Macho Man with Elizabeth. That was fun. Robert P with Sacramento. I will be away 18th, 19th, and 20th. Damn, where you going? My bro and dad live in Sac. Nice. Shout out Sacktown in the building. Should give me a call tomorrow. Can Oreo One, what's good? How's your resolution going, brother? It's nice to get a fresh air and hope trying to get rid of them cigarettes. Yeah, I've had a couple, but way less, way less. So yeah, it didn't make it too good. But out of those 16, I'm down to, I still got some. So I've been doing all right. Brother, I'm sorry. Definitely give me a call tomorrow. Rob Payne, I'll try. They asked Sean Payton about the Raiders taking Mendoza as number one. Um, Get said. He said he thinks the next year's quarterbacks are better. I mean, that's Sean Payton, bro. Sean Payton, right, snuck up in the draft and snagged Bo Nix at number 9 or 10 or wherever it was, right in front of the Las Vegas Raiders when nobody had Bo Nix going in the first round. Only a couple people said he was a first round quarterback. Everybody else mock drafts had him, second round, third round, which was absolutely crazy. And if Sean Payton says he'd wait till next year, I mean, maybe the Raiders organization should probably listen to somebody in their division. Or maybe he's just trying to set him up because he doesn't want him to have Mendoza. Right? What do you feel about Harbaugh, Kenna? Do you want him on the Raiders? Yeah, they had Stephen A. Smith. Yeah, Stephen A. Smith. That's it. That's the clown's name. That dude irritates the hell out of me. Always yelling and screaming at somebody some damn bullshit nonsense that he gets paid to say. Yo, send me over to ESPN. Rock could yell and scream at people and make some shit up too. Yeah, that dude irritates the hell out of me. Just keep it simple. Take Mendoza. I mean, but how simple is it? How simple is it? It's not very simple if you take a quarterback that's got to sit for a year, because then who you getting next year? Now you got to go, you know, get another free agent. What happens with that free agent is Malik Willis, and he has, the best year he's ever had in his career. And now you got a Mendoza, and you're like, oh shit, now what do I do? Right? It's not simple. There's nothing simple about it, Kenna. He's the only one in the draft. And go back and watch earlier my car lot analogy. It's not that simple. If the Raiders take Mendoza and for some crazy reason, it's a miss and he doesn't come to to be that guy. If Vegas is not the place for him, whatever the situation is, the coach that we bring in, fails to develop him or put a system around him that he's comfortable in, then this franchise is not good for another 10 years minimum. Minimum 10 years. But if you trade back and you draft other players, the chances of, getting better are way higher for next year. A quarterback sitting on the bench for a year is not going to make this franchise better overnight. The Great White Cheese Ball is barely hanging on. Rebel, you need to let go. The what? The what you talking about? '07. Jag's gonna take it all. Shows the real coach matters in Jacksonville. I mean, it does, right? And not to take anything away from Liam Cohen, but did they really hit in the draft? Like, how many players are starting, right? Their third overall, second overall pick, where did they pick? Has been out almost the whole entire year. And Travis Hunter. I don't know who they picked in the second or third round, but I don't know how many of their draft picks. I'll have to figure it out. Well, maybe we'll talk about this a little bit more tomorrow when I know a little bit more facts on it. But I don't think a lot of their people they brought in free agency or the draft is out there really killing it for the Jaguars. It's players that were that were already in the building that just weren't being coached up right. That just didn't have the energy that Liam Cohen has. So not to take anything away from Liam Cohen, but he walked into, a team that every year has been projected to go deep in the playoffs with Trevor Lawrence, with, the weapons they have over there, Brian Thomas Jr., ENT at running back, right? A solid defense every year. So he walked into a good scenario. And again, not to take anything away from him, but that team was, you know, just needed a coach and leadership. So exactly to your point, coaching matters. Gino would be dead cap hit at 18 million. Gino deleted all Raider shit. Yeah, I don't follow him, but I did get the memo. People are posting all over X. Gino's deleting everybody. He deleted all his Raider shit off his account. He was very pissed off that, Pete Carroll was fired from the Las Vegas Raiders. And I do believe that Geno Smith, you know, um, tried to throw shade on the Raiders for firing Pete Carroll, but it was intercepted and ran back for a touchdown. So, peace. Bye bye, Geno. Go Eagles. No, don't make me say that. Why did I read that? Saints next year for real. That's not too much of a hot take. I mean, that's pretty much of a hot take, but there's a very big chance that the New Orleans Saints can turn it around next year. They still have Alvin Kamara. They still have Chris Olave. They still have, they traded Rashad Shaheed and still, you know, playing well over there with Tyler Shuck. The defense is playing better and better and better. And one more draft, one more draft in free agency, and the New Orleans Saints might be one of those teams that wins 5 games, that turns around and only loses 5 games next year. Harbaugh is your pick. Nice. Kenna likes Harbaugh too. Don't forget, Mendoza was at Cal with a bad team, and he did well under pressure. I don't know if Cal was a bad team. I mean, their defense wasn't great. Their offense was, though. Their offense was very well ran. They had dogs over there. They had some players. And I know he had, I think he had a better year at Cal than he had statistically wise at Indiana, minus the interceptions. I think he had more INTs over there. Um, but yeah, Mendoza was great at Cal. But don't forget this. Don't forget this. Coming into this year's draft, coming into this year's season, Mendoza wasn't even in the top 15 quarterbacks talked about being drafted in the first or second round. He wasn't even in a quarterback conversation. There was 15 quarterbacks or more above Mendoza. He was not even in the talks. So the fact that yes, he changed Indiana around, but you got to give credit to that coaching staff, offense and defense. You got to give credit to his offensive line. And I just don't know. Like you said, he played well in Cal, but not as well as he's playing right now under a new coach and a better system. So not being talked about to, be in the first overall pick, I think is a giant leap. And not too many players make leaps like that. I think the last player to make a leap like that was Anthony Richardson, right? Anthony Richardson for the Colts. Wasn't it a couple years ago? Everybody was saying was a third round pick, was a second round pick. You know, they was trying to put him in the same category as the Alabama quarterback from last year, right? Mobile, athletic, but can't throw, has no accuracy, can't read defenses, has you know, has no decisiveness, pre-snap read, all those things that a quarterback should have. He didn't have, but he went from being a third to fourth round quarterback to drafted third overall. So it does happen a lot. But I just find it crazy that Mendoza just, you know, all the sun is in this talk because of what he's done at Indiana. You have to gotta be kidding me. A Muslim, seriously? What? Can't wait to watch Indiana Mendoza and Indiana Mendoza versus Oregon more. Facts, facts. It's going to be a hell of a game. And speaking of game, if you want play-by-play commentary of the game, right? Pull up. We will be live for the game. We will be breaking down both quarterbacks live as we go. Their passes, their runs, you know, all the good stuff. All the good stuff. The the turnover worthy throws. You know, the good throws, the dots, the spectacular throws. So pull up, pull up. Make sure you pull up for the Oregon Indiana game. It's going to be special. It's going to be special. We don't know if Moore is going to be in the draft yet. That's why Raiders Rebel has not done any mock drafts. So if you see all these other mock drafts, take them with a grain of salt because a lot of these players might not declare for the NFL draft, and there's already players that are starting to go back to school, and you know I just don't want to waste people's time of doing a mock draft of players that you know are imaginary coming out. Super Bowl Shuffle video was released before the playoffs even started. League was pissed, but they couldn't do anything about it. Well, that's special even more. I did not know that. Shout out for that information and that tidbit. Um, that's crazy. That's crazy. Before the playoffs even started. But I mean, if you look at the team, right, and the way they dominated the league, it's you know it wasn't too hot of a take at the time to think that they were going to be doing a Super Bowl shuffle, right? Like, it's not. It wasn't too. There weren't too high odds of them not making the Super Bowl that year, and I know back then, you know, they didn't have the odds like we have now in the sports books and the crazy fanatics that we have with all this shit nowadays. But yeah, man. Yeah, Peach Bowl is gonna be such a fire game, Mendoza and more. Yeah, it's gonna be fun to watch. It's gonna be fun to watch. And I don't know, man. I still believe Mendoza or the more takes in the first round of this year's draft is crazy talk. Trying to set this kid up for failure. Harbaugh fired by the Ravens. Raiders hire Harbaugh, bring in Lamar, and sign their center as a free agent. Okay, Perry, you are sniffing glue. I think Harbaugh was fired because Lamar Jackson wanted out of Baltimore. So I don't think Harbaugh is going to bring Lamar to the Raiders. I mean, hot take. It may happen, bro. May happen, could happen. I just don't see it happening. I don't think they're on the same page. And I think Harbaugh got fired because they didn't want Lamar leaving Baltimore. It's what it seems like to me. Lamar is going to play for the Ravens for 2 more years. Nah, Lamar's going to get a new deal. Lamar's going to get a new deal more than likely. With Harbaugh being gone, yeah, somebody's going to. They just showed by releasing Harbaugh that they are more in on, you know, on their quarterback, Lamar Jackson, than they are their head coach. And, you know, he's talked about wanting more money, wanting another deal. That's why they said he wasn't playing as well this year when he was out there. And we shall see. How do Raider fans, what? How does it feel to be a Raiders fan? It feels great, bro. It feels great. We got the number one overall pick. We beat the Kansas City Chiefs the last year, the last game of the season, right? We haven't beat them at home since we opened Allegiant Stadium. I do believe. I could be wrong. Feels good to be a Raider, man. Damn, it feels good to be a Raider. at Perry. The reason why John got fired is because of Lamar, and he didn't get along. Facts, facts. Appreciate that. Um, they need to change the scenery. A lot of people do. Super Bowl shift video was 1985. Was released before the playoffs even started, and the league was pissed. Didn't I just read that? Shout out to you. Um, a team will pay large sum to come play for them in 2028. I do believe you are correct, sir. Correct. 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 Salmon Slammy Joe. Slamming Sammy Joe. Appreciate you, my guy. Your boy beat the Chiefs. Man, we already know. We already know the cerebral assassin. Kansas City Chief Killer AOC in the building. We already knew that. We already knew that. And if you don't like and subscribe and follow Raiders Unleashed, man, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? We tell you truth over here. Truth talk. Truth talk daily. Yeah, that's what I've been saying. Cam Ward, number one contract, $48 million over 48 years. Yeah, I mean that's a decent contract, right? That's 10, what, 12 million? Damn, that's 12 million a year? Shit, I was thinking they was only gonna get like eight being the number one pick. So yeah, yeah, you definitely gotta do. Candy Angel, what's up, girl? No injuries, brother Rebel. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Appreciate God keeping you safe, man. What about the car? How much damage? Is it totaled? You just got to get something fixed. Just a little fender bender. Let me know. Will Harbaugh be our next coach? There is a very high possibility. There is a high possibility that if you want to beat a team that's in the playoffs with Jim Harbaugh, you know the dischargers, the lightning bugs, whatever you want to call them, the Los Angeles Chargers. That I think it would be great, bro. I think it would be great, and I don't know. I don't know. I think it'd be fun as hell to watch. I'm not a huge John Harbaugh fan, but I like the way they run the ball with Derrick Henry. I think that would be nice for Ashton Genty. I like the way their offensive line, protects their quarterback, or at least has in the past. Um, do you think Mendoza is the best quarterback in the draft? Without a question. Without a question. Actually, I don't know. Nah, I don't. I don't. Um, I really believe he has competition. If you want a guy that's just a pocket passer, I think Drew Aller, is up there. And if you look at Drew Aller's numbers last year, matter of fact, let's do that right now. Let's do this. Let's do this. Um, Drew Aller stats last year. Where we at? Where we at? I mean, come on, bro. He had 3,200 passing yards, 24 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Not a bad season last year, right? Does it say rushing yards? It's not giving me rushing yards. So, I mean, with a pretty talented team over there in Penn State, like Drew Aller, however you say his name, Drew Aller, you know, has a great arm. He's been compared to a lot of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. They didn't have the greatest season last year with Penn State, but their coach also got fired. Was there problems going on from the jump over there that, that led to his demise, or, his downfall a little bit? And then he got hurt. So, to say Mendoza is the best quarterback in this draft, I believe is a stretch. I believe is a stretch because I would love to see a lot of these quarterbacks play for a team like Indiana. That, yes, they came up from the bottom, but they're good in all aspects. They're good at special teams. They're good at defense. They have a good offensive line. They have a number one receiver. They have a good tight end. Damn, they have like 4 or 5 receivers that catch the ball every single game. They have 2 of the top backs, in college football, at least yards wise. So, I mean, it's hard to say, man. It's hard to say. And I watched a lot of tape on Mendoza. I haven't got to Drew Aller yet, because they're not even in the conversation. But I'm gonna go back and do my homework. I'm gonna watch some, Cade Klubnik, who I liked last year. Nussmeier, right? I like Nussmeier out of LSU. I think, with all the shit that was going on in LSU, with the changing of coaches being fired, could have had something to do with that over there as well. So, um, I got to go back and look at some of these guys. I got to go back, watch some film, you know, put some highlights together, see what it looks like. I'm hearing Taylor Green now as of today, day two grade for the 2000. What? Would you hear that? Would you hear that? That's crazy talk, bro. To be honest, you know, not saying I'm a great, quarterback guru or evaluator, but I've hit on a lot in the last couple years, and I just I don't know. Second round is crazy to me. I would say fourth. You know, could get could get go higher just because of his athleticism. But again, like I said, I think he has problem with read option of keeping when to keep the ball, when to throw the ball. Um, RPOs, same thing. So I don't know. I don't know about second. Day two grade is correct. I guess day two could be what, third round also. Where they go, second and third. Yeah, day two grade. I guess. I guess. No disrespect, but the Raiders need to hire the Pope to be the next head coach and bless the whole team. It's not disrespect. That's pretty funny. And we need blessings, bro. We do need blessings. Rebel, yes. Harbaugh, with Kubiak number one. I have others in mind too. So let me ask you this: the 8 people in the building. Where do you have the Raiders in this head coaching cycle? There's what, 9 teams, 9 or 10 teams now that need a head coach. Maybe 8. I don't know the math right off the top of my head. I don't know why my back is burning. But where do you have the Raiders head coaching job as far as people wanting to take the job, right? Like from 1 to 10. Say the best coach out there, like Ben Johnson last year, or Liam Cohen, both passed on the Raiders. Like, where do you see it? Do you see, it being the out of the 10 teams, it being the second best job, the fifth best job, the 10th best job? Where do you see the Raiders' job being with the weapons they have and the people they have in the building? Honestly, how long would you think it would take for the Raiders to be Super Bowl material? Um, you know, Speculation is something I try not to do a lot on this channel. I do sometimes. It just all depends. It's hard to say where the Raiders could be with what they have, with what they're bringing in, without knowing who's running the shit. I mean, we know Spytek says, he's kind of in charge. We know Brady's on the phone with Spytek every single day, multiple times a day. It's hard to run an organization like that when you're having multiple conversations with somebody or disputes with somebody, the way you want your team to be ran. So I feel right now, if Max Crosby stays on the team, if they bolster the defense in this draft, and they go offense next year, go all defense this year, make it one of the best defenses in all of football. You can have your own name, right? Sin City Misfits, whatever you want to call them, and dominate on the defensive side of the ball. Then next year, you go offense, right? You go offensive side of the ball. I mean, 3 or 4 years, I think we could be contenders. 2 years, I think we could be playoff contenders. I mean, shit, we could be in the playoffs next year, just like the Jacksonville Jaguars, just like the New England Patriots. Like it all comes down to getting teams to, the players to buy in to what the coach is doing, and I think they did that last year. So how much of that, is fractured, and how many players are still believe that this organization could turn it around? That's probably the problem, and until you can weed out what guys believe in this team going forward and which guys don't, it's going to be hard to say where we could be or how long it's going to be. I mean, Mendoza and Moore, both sitting out their rookie year. I put Moore as the best quarterback in the draft, And if you're playing them in their rookie year, then I'd say Mendoza is the best. 100%. 100%. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. Jags will lose to Buffalo for sure. I wouldn't be so sure. I wouldn't be so sure. This defense is nasty. The Buffalo Bills have had problems. Yes, they've come from behind and won some games. They started out hot. They kind of crumbled a little bit in the middle. Um, but we'll see, man. We'll see. We'll see. I think they got some issues over there. Have you ever hit them with the Coco man, Ricky's? What? I don't know what you're talking about, bro. Pete Carroll is your uncle. Nice. Shout out to you. If you see him, smack him for me. Gino's best throw was the first pick. Um, Gino's best throw was the first pick six for the NFL. That was his best throw all year, right? That was his best throw all year. I thought the Raider Nation hated us, Saints fans, because of the whole car thing. You know, there's Raider Nation fans and then there's Raider Rebel. There's like, I'm not hating on nobody. I don't hold grudges. The Saints had nothing to do with picking one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL to run their team. Shout out to y'all. Unfortunately, he got hurt and it fell apart. But they were off to a hell of a run with Clint Kubiak. So, um, nah, bro, I don't hate on nobody. I do hate Josh McDaniels for letting his ass go. but I ain't hating on the Saints. Um, what else we got? What else we got? Niners. Come on, bro. Stop with that. Gino seemed very mentally weak, couldn't handle well deserved scrutiny from the media and fans. Yeah, but he stood up there, correct. And he stood up there in every press conference and said the same old shit, right? I could take the criticism, I'm just continue to be in me. I don't let anything bother me or get to me. Yeah, bro. Phony, 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 phony. Raiders need a quarterback. I mean, that's just opinion. That's just opinion of everybody in the NFL. And yes, they do. They do. But who's to say they're not going to do the same thing with this quarterback that they've done with the last one or the one before that or the one before that? Um, Rattler was a horrible QB. Carroll might be able to sharpen him into something. Yeah, Rattler wasn't horrible at all, man. I like Rattler. I think coming out in the fifth round, there's a couple content creators that are pissed off that he was taken, uh, that he wasn't taken, and Tommy Eichenberg was. But it is what it is. I like Rattler. I think he's definitely serviceable. He's mobile. He can throw on the run. Like I said, another guy that athletic, knows how to get his hips around, knows how to keep his eyes downfield, can go through his progressions. Just got to work on the accuracy and the believing in yourself a little bit too much. But I don't know if Pete Carroll could fix anybody at this point. I think Pete Carroll days of fixing players and making them better is well far behind him. Raiders need to hire the Pope. I said that. No matter how they go, no matter where they go, city and state, they will always be. What? With the big LP? What you mean, bro? What you mean, bro? What you mean, bro? Unleashed Raiders. What it do? What it do? Raiders suck. All right, man. We coming up on 2.5 hours. Get your questions in. Get all your questions in before I get to these comments. Maybe Harbaugh will be the next coach for the Raiders. It's a very, very big possibility. And, with him being fired, that coaching, and a lot of, mid coaches where there wasn't really no big name that everybody wanted to go get, I think Harbaugh is that name now. So, pro day combine results always make a couple dudes jump in, a few dudes fall off the board. Facts. Facts. And I thought not being in the combine last year hurt Shador Sanders, right? The fact that he wouldn't throw in the combine because he didn't want to throw to other receivers that weren't, on his Colorado team, I thought was stupid of him and hurt his draft. Can't wait for um, Can't wait for my division game. Grim in the building. January 18th wild card. Man, you ain't got to post that. We know you get to sit out a week and wait. Damn it. Fucker. First overall pick, Bowers Genty, $100 million plus cap space, no state income tax, 10 draft picks, B tier opening because of muddled front office structure. Sounds good. Sounds good to me. Sign me up. Shit. Where do I coach? If Raiders need a coach, shit. Sign me up, bro. Where do I gotta be? I'll be the ball boy, the water boy. I'll start at the bottom. Raiders are butt cheeks. Love the Bowers pick. Genty pick was disappointing because I thought the Raiders would have drafted Mimbu at right tackle. Hey, yeah, Mimbu's over there killing it. He's doing his thing over there on a bad team. Bad situation for him. I still love the Ashton Genty pick, man. Mimbu would have been great. There's not a Mimbu probably in this draft, but there's a couple. Stay tuned till tomorrow. There's a couple. Yeah, Mimbu would have been better. I wanted Tedero McMillan. I was not a McMillan fan, and he's done a damn good job this year. Mimbu because I thought they were worth the pick. Running back in the 6th round would be better, and I wasn't sold on Genty. I mean, I was sold on Genty. I wanted Genty. I had a different vision for this team than what they had. I thought the offensive line, like I've said a million times, they were going to run it back with the way it was last year with JPJ at center, Meredith at guard. That the offensive line was okay. Was it great enough for Genty to have 1,000 yards? I believe so. Um, should they have thrown him the ball more out of the backfield? I believe so. But the amount of touches he had, are tops from rookies. And the Genty pick is the same thing I think about the Mendoza pick, right? If you're saying that Genty pick was a bad pick because we didn't have an offensive line, didn't have a quarterback, right? It was not time to pick Ashton Genty. That's the same thing with this quarterback situation. We still don't have the offensive line, right? We still don't know if they're going to build it through free agency or if they're going to draft guys this year. We don't know how those guys are going to work. We don't know who the coach is going to be, if the scheme's going to work for Genty. We don't know none of that. So it's the same thing as with the quarterback this year. Like, we don't know anything. So to draft a quarterback and let him sit for a year and then possibly play next year to get, into the groove, right? And learn the NFL, because if you sit for a year and you're not out there on the grass learning hands on, it's probably a whole nother year of development. So you're talking 2 years of developing a quarterback and only leaving 2 years of cheap labor. Well, not cheap labor, but cheaper labor until you have to pay him 50, $70 million a year. It doesn't make sense. It makes more sense to me to have a team, no matter who the quarterback is, if we go out and compete every week, if we're in games, if we show that they are a competent NFL team to compete and not get blown out in 2 games 31-0, not get smoked by 14 points or more in 5 games this year, right? Until they can show that, a quarterback is just way out the way. Raiders, shout out for the $5 smackaroo. If the Raiders get a quarterback, get some guys on the offensive line and protect him. I mean, that's pretty much a given. They have to go that route. My Seahawks took a Saints wide receiver. Yes, they did. And he's not even playing wide receiver. He's running like kick returns or punt returns. But yeah, offensive line. But, on the other hand, offensive line is, who's to say, right? Who's to say? The Raiders went out and they signed Dalton Wagner, who's been here 3 years, to a to a future contract. They went and signed Antonio Mafi, Lackey Tassi. They're signing these guys to future contracts. So they believe in these guys. And don't forget about Lackey Tassi. He's had a year in the NFL to learn after being a rugby player. And I believe deeply that Lackey Tassie is going to be farther ahead when the season starts next year than any rookie guard you can bring in, except for maybe four in this draft. You want to know who those four are? Pull up tomorrow and you'll find out. But Lackey Tassie, with his size, my God, bro, and his, if he improves to be a guard this year, then you have JPJ, Lackey Tassie, Caleb Rogers, Jordan Meredith. I mean, you got guys that are serviceable on the offensive line that could be something. And I think once Lackey Tassie learns the pad level, learns to not to lean forward so much and balance himself, to be an anchor in the passing game and a bulldozer in the run game. I think Lackey Tassie has a bright future. Now I know, he might be up there in age wise and he's never played football before, but might not have been the greatest development under this staff and Brendan Carroll. But look for some of these guys, you know, to maybe be a backup or maybe even be starters next year. I hear the Chiefs are likely releasing their right tackle. They got offensive line problems just as bad as we do right now. Does DJ Glaze suck or the coaches made him worse or both? I feel like the coaching staff made DJ Glaze worse, way worse, right? There was upside there. There was room to grow. There was room for improvement. I feel like his hands have gotten sloppy. I feel like his footwork has got sloppy. It's got slower, and maybe it's him. Maybe I don't know, but from what I seen when I was watching, the practices when they were letting people come in and watch practices, and film that shit, and you know he looked good out there. He looked decent out there. But then, when the season starts, man, he's just getting cooked by anytime you line somebody up in a nine technique or um, anything outside the tackles. Right, he just don't have the speed to recover. Shout out for the gifts, the Hunt 100s. I appreciate you. And I think that's a problem in the NFL. So with this team already having a shitload of guards, like we have guards up the ass right now that if one of them just pan out or two of them pan out, we have a good solid line for the future. A lot of people talk about moving DJ Glaze over to guard, but with all the guards we have in the building, I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders might possibly move on from DJ Glaze, you know, this coming year, right? And not to his fault, but just because the coaching staff failed to develop him, and I believe all these players got worse. Um, all of them, everybody on the line. Dylan Parham got worse, right? He regressed. JPJ, ended up getting injured. He didn't play well. Colton Miller, looked okay at the start of the year, but really nobody on this line looked good. So I believe mainly the coaching staff, and I think we have to give not everybody on this offensive line another chance next year, but some of them deserve to be back. First round draft pick. Who will they take? It's hard to say. It's hard to say. Hard to say. The consensus says Mendoza take the guaranteed thing. So they say, but me, I'm trade back. Team trade back. Team trade back until somebody changes my mind. And Mendoza last week, you know, kind of helped that a little bit. But who really changed my mind was Trinidad Chambliss. Trinidad Chambliss showed me something that I seen in Jackson Dart that made me say Jackson Dart the last 2 years, every the last two off seasons, all I did was talk about Jackson Dart coming to the Raiders. There was a reason. He showed me something. He showed everybody in the NFL that this year. And I think Trinidad Chambliss could be one of those next ones. Glaze probably playing out a position because of the speed rushers, given the problems. We'll trade back in the draft and draft Magoa or Fanu and take a right tackle to move Glaze to right guard. I agree with that. I agree with that, but I feel like I just talked about, is definitely I would take Fano. I would take Magoa. I would take shit. I would even take Proctor. Depending on where it was, Caden Proctor. And there's a couple more guys. Pull up tomorrow when we do offensive line. Pull up tomorrow night. But yeah, I wouldn't mind taking any one of those guys if you could trade back and get better draft capital. I think both of those guys could be right tackles. Some of them maybe Fanu and maybe Magoa. A lot of them say could be pushed into the right guard position. But as far as DJ Glaze being pushed into the right guard position, I don't think the Raiders have time to develop him at right guard. And we already know JPJ is farther along. We know Jordan Meredith is farther along. We know even Caleb Rogers is farther along. And hell, even Antonio Mafi is farther along at the right guard position than DJ Glaze. So, you know, DJ Glaze, more than likely, in my opinion, will be the backup right guard for the Las Vegas Raiders next year if he's still on the team. Do you think we're going to take Harbaugh as the new coach? I believe they will interview him. Now, I don't know. Um, I don't know where the Raiders feel. Harbaugh was a quarterback coach for the Oakland Raiders back in the day. Um, did he play with the Raiders? No, he didn't play with the Raiders. And they had some shit going on there. But Jim Harbaugh wanted to be the coach for the Raiders supposedly last year when he took the other job. And I don't know how they feel about John Harbaugh. He's been a coach for a long, long time for the Baltimore Ravens, and I'm sure there's a lot of teams in the NFL that would love to interview him and bring him in to run their franchise. One of the smartest things that the Ravens have ever done. Okay, okay. Good comp playing Chambliss versus Jackson Dart. I just see similarities, and it not because they both played for Old Miss. That it might be because they had the same head coach in Lane Kiffin, right? It might be because they had the same offensive coordinator in whatever the fuck, I don't know. I can't remember his name. I've been on here too long, 2.5 hours. But yeah, I just see a lot of similarities. Coach Harbaugh would be a terrible coach for the Raiders to hire. They're just take them to an all-time low. Damn, bro. Damn, bro. So, all right, man. I appreciate everybody in the building. It's been 2.5 hours. Shout out to everybody that made it through the whole entire live. Protect your mind, protect yourself, protect your health and your family. And as always, got to protect against Colton Miller going down again next year. The Chargers, LTU, and that's another thing. At least we have Proctor is way too slow to play left tackle. I mean, probably right tackle. I'd probably move him to right. I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, we'll break down that some more tomorrow. But like I say, protect your mind, protect your family, protect your health and your loved ones, and always protect yourself and take care of your people. Um, as always, I appreciate y'all for rocking with me this long. Let me know. Let me know in the comments. Let me know after. The pinned comment will be on 1 through 20. Where do you see Max Crosby being with the last Las Vegas Raiders next year? Will he be here? Will he be playing for somebody else? Will he be traded? One being the highest. Peace. Much love.